Hi, my name is Etienne van der Walt, CEO of Neurozone. It's great to share a few thoughts with you on what we have been researching over the past number of weeks during COVID, and as it relates to what we call the behavioral code for high performance. So the Neurozone code, as we call it in short, is a code consisting of behaviors, emotional states, cognitive states that we study in a field called neuroanalytics. And in fact, we actually use a number of intersecting fields when we study behaviors and how it relates to our performance, readiness, our resilience, and our capacity of our brain-body systems to be in a baseline relaxed physiological state, to be ready to perform at its best, and to set us up not only for high performance, but also for longevity and for thriving in life. So the intersecting fields I wanted to share with you is psychoneuroimmunology, systems biology. So all these fields we use together in what we now call neuroanalytics, and we have developed a neuroanalytical system through which we have been studying all these behaviors, emotional states, cognitive states. In fact, around about 70 of these particular measurements and data sets that we've been putting together in a machine, and actually discovered a code that says this is the high performance code for individuals, for teams, and for organizations to really set them up to build their resilience, to enable them to overcome challenges so that they can move back into a baseline relaxed physiological state, even in the face of serious challenges. And before COVID, we had thousands of people in our system, and of course what we found there is that the average code rendered a very interesting number of behaviors, emotional states, cognitive states that will be more important than others to give the average leader on the globe the resilience that we need to build it. And the number one was optimism. The number two, reducing negative intrusive thought patterns. Number three was the generic parts technique, which is a way of really breaking up your problems into its smallest little parts, and then allow your brain to come up with realistic scenarios of the possible, which is complex problem solving really at its best. That was top three. We also had a bedtime consistency, going to bed at the same time so that your whole sleep-wake cycle is actually in a great rhythm, very rhythmical. We also had having a sense of making a meaningful contribution in the workplace. Those are a number of those very important, more, let's say, higher weighted contributions that these different behaviors, emotional states, and cognitive states make to enable us to increase our resilience and to have a baseline relaxed physiological state ready for performance at our best. So what happened during COVID? And that was the question. And so we ran our system with the numbers of clients who have been using the system during COVID, and specifically in two periods, and I'll show it to you now. I think the first one was in February and another one was in March, and another one was in April. And the two that I want to share with you is the March data and the April data, to show you what has happened, how has this code shift, and so give us an indication of what people now intuitively deem more important, and also what they are actually not doing but that they should be doing to enhance the resilience. It's an interesting way that you can actually interpret this. And so let me show you the code, and I'm going to share with you the code for the COVID time, if you may. And these two periods, and there we are. You can actually look at this particular infographic, and you can see what are the strongest positive predictors of resilience during the COVID-19 escalation. And there we are. It's from 25 February to 28 April. So it's more March and April. And the first line, the lighter sort of brownish, goldish line that you see here, that was the period February to 31 March. You can see that data. And then you have the reddish maroon type of color data at 28 April. So this was the first set of data, and then the second set of data. And remember that on top here, you would have expected optimism to be number one pre-COVID. Incredible how we see that exercise take up the first two slots, exercise diversity and exercise duration. And exercise diversity actually enabling us to do more and more different types of exercises, and actually reminding us that how important that is became more important, arguably, because we are doing very monotonous type of exercises, being in a lockdown sort of state and so on. Secondly, the duration of exercise became slightly less important, but is still the number 2 on the list here. Interesting enough, out of the blue, we also didn't see this in the top 10 of the 68 or around about 70 behaviors, emotional states, and cognitive states, is destructive habit avoidance. So it becomes really important to us to avoid destructive habits, but also because we are tending now to exhibit our destructive habits, and we are more aware of it, and we actually have to work very hard at preventing these habits to become addictions and other problems in our lives during this lockdown period. You can see that it actually became more important in the second month as opposed to the month of March. You can also see that, in fact, it actually now is in the 3rd place. It was there probably in the 4th place. So it's moved from 3rd place to 4th place to 3rd place. Reducing negative thought patterns has always been important, and it is still extremely important. It is not the same as optimism. You can see optimism down here. Optimism is also in the top 10. Don't think that these ones down here are not important. They are in the top 10 of the 70 behaviors that we have been studying in the code. But you can see optimism is actually now in the 8th place, where it was number 1 pre-COVID. And you can see then as we go down, physical mobility once again. So a number of physical components here extremely important. And then if you look at the rest of it, these are all very important emotional states. Trust in work life, to have that sense of bonding in my team in work life, which is so important. Enthusiasm, which drives the energy for goal-directed behavior. Identity in my personal life. Interesting enough, there's a question of what is my identity in my personal life and the people I'm actually locked down with at the moment, which is now coming to the forefront and has not been in the top 10 in pre-COVID. Belonging in work life, also very important. So belonging is not the same as bonding, meaning trust. So belonging is culture. It's the way we do things, what we value, as opposed to trust in work life, which speaks to entrusting myself to another so that we can actually both stay alive and actually work as a synchronous team. And then there's optimism, gratitude, and empathy and compassion, always being important. They are in the 8th, 9th, and 10th position. Now, that these are all really contributors in the system, if you may, the brain-body system, to enhance the energy we assign to tasks to achieve our goals. And so in short, if you look at it a little bit, sitting back and just looking at this particular code and these 10, top 10, if you may, strongest predictors of resilience, you can see the little shifts. I told you that initially we had optimism. I mean, pre-COVID, we had optimism, reducing negative thought patterns, generic parts technique, bedtime consistency, and the sense of making a meaningful contribution in the workplace. You can see that many of them have now been replaced. Optimism is, in fact, the only one, and reducing negative intrusive thought patterns are the only ones that are left in the top 5 at least. And so you can see how there's a shift in terms of what is really now important for us to ensure that we build our resilience as a group. And of course, this is an average for everybody who's been on the system, as we said, in the last 60 days during COVID. It's valuable because it gives us a practical sense. I personally also are experiencing, while being in very strict lockdown in Cape Town in South Africa, experiencing how important exercise has become, how difficult it is to exercise well. And now that I actually exercise, I'm actually tending to be quite monotonous about it. So I need a bit of duration. I need to move a lot because I'm sitting a lot. I'm not moving between my meetings anymore. I'm having one Zoom meeting on the hour, followed by another by another. I don't get up and actually get in my car and drive to another place to have a meeting, or jump on a plane to travel and move as a result of that. So there's a lot in there that says mobility is becoming even more important for us as we are in lockdown. And then you have these emotional states. They are incredibly important. And they speak to these drivers of social safety. That's your bonding in the workplace, in your team, belonging in the workplace, your sense of identity in your personal life, identity in your work life. And then there's this goal directedness, the capacity for actually assigning the energy to tasks, speaking about optimism, gratitude, empathy, and compassion, reducing negative thought patterns, and avoiding destructive habits. And so you can actually see how important those are. And finally, the collective, how to collectively solve problems, still remains extremely important. And that's where empathy and compassion in particular comes in. I hope this gives you a bit of an overview and an interesting way of looking at how we can use the behavioral code for high performance. If you are interested as companies, as teams, organizations, to speak with us, there is down here, you can actually visit our website, neurozone.com, or you can also connect with us at hello@neurozone.com. We're very happy to have a conversation with you and see how we can actually assist you in your teams and companies to ensure that your brain-body system is enhanced, optimized, and that your cortisol is at a level where it should be, and that you are high performance ready during these very challenging times.